Good morning, everyone, and warm welcome to you all. Welcome all of you for our today's Sadgunsan meet. Our topic for today is requirements and implementation of ISO 14001. Our keynote speaker is Mithila More. She shall be covering environmental aspects and impacts, compliance and obligation, life cycle perspective, risk and opportunities, which will be followed by question and answer session. Our today's agenda is virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, evoking the blessing of deity, chanting of Gayatri Mantra, introduction of speaker by Yachita, and presentation by Mithila More, question and answer session, and then closing session. I'll give you an introduction of Dr. Sundar Kataria. Sadgunsan is conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Sadgunsan is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professional on the possible solutions to current issue of industry and economy. His designation in organization is Chairman and Managing Director of International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification includes doctorate in business management and mechanical engineering. His experience includes Rajasthan Atomic Power Project, India's first nuclear power plant, RAPP, at Rawat Bhata, Kota, built by Indian engineers, worked as a nuclear scientist for 11 years and successfully completed and commissioned the plant. Engineers India Limited, first batch of engineers to develop Bombay High Offshore Oil and Gas Field, Mega Offshore Complex Platform, Trunk and Submarine Pipeline, Underwater Inspection and Indigenization Oil and Gas Equipment, etc. DAT Norsec Vertice World, largest classification society, worked for 17 years at various capacity for the certification of fixed offshore installations, submarine pipelines, onshore projects, and personal qualification. ICS. He is a founder of India's first certification conformance assessment body established in the year 1999, provider of a total quality solution, certification of management system, ISO, inspection, testing and training qualification of personnel. His awards and achievement includes received a Lifetime Achievement Award for the contribution for the corrosion technologies from NACE International by NIGIS under NACE USA. Social worker, protection of a life, asset, and environmental safety. Now I request Dr. Sundar Kataria to virtually inaugurate our session.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Please join us for the recitation of Gayatri Mantra. Introduction of our today's keynote speaker, Ms. Mithila More. Her designation in the organization, she is a founder, Aspire Qualitech. Her academic qualification includes BSc Microbiology in 1996 from Mumbai University with a first class, MSc Microbiology in 1998 from Mumbai University with a first class lead, Diploma in the Business Management from Wellinger Institute of Management, Development and Research Mumbai with A grade, postgraduate diploma in the Patents Law from Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad, post-graduation diploma in Regulatory Affairs from BPM's Advanced Study Center in Thane. Her area of specialization and experience includes work in pharmaceutical industry for 20 years at various positions from microbiologist to manager, quality assurance. Her experience in facing, complying various regulatory and customer audits during the professional career. Presently, she is working as a freelancer consultant for quality system and its compliance auditor at Trainer from February 2019. Gap analysis, implementation and compliance to WHO, GMP at various other regulatory requirements for pharmaceutical industry. Now I request Mithila More. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for my introduction. And I welcome all of you for this training session. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Let us start with the presentation. Yeah, so today's topic is requirement and implementation of ISO 14001-2015, that is Environmental Management System. So what we will be covering in the today's session, that is what is the aim of implementing this ISO 14001-2015 requirement. Then what are the benefits when, when we implement this management system standard? What are the clauses associated with ISO 14001-2015? Then what are the steps implementing during the implementation of this standard? Then what are the requirements for implementation of this standard? We will be covering all these aspects, and at the end we will have the question and answer session. Yeah, so if you have any query related to the presentation, or you have any doubt relating to implementation or any requirement pertaining to ISO 14000-2015 requirement, you can please ask me. Yeah. Then what is the aim, basic aim of implementation of EMS. So EMS is nothing but Environment Management System. So the aim of this standard is to provide a framework to protect the environment. So basic aim of this standard is to protect the environment. So this is basically a systematic approach to prevent or mitigate the adverse and environmental effect. So here, when we are implementing this standard, so we are preventing or we are trying to eliminate the adverse environmental impacts because of our activities. Yes, mitigating potential adverse environmental conditions. So if any adverse environmental conditions are generated because of our activities, so we are trying to mitigate. Then meeting the compliance obligations. So when you are implementing this EMS standard, you have to comply with certain legal or regulatory requirements which are pertaining to environment protection. Yeah, then when you are implementing this standard, you will be enhancing the environmental performance. Yes, then we do have to consider the life cycle perspective for our products which we are manufacturing or whatever services we are providing. Then achieving the financial and operational benefits. Yes, then communicating to the interested parties. So if we are implementing EMS also, then we need to communicate with our interested parties. Interested parties are nothing but our suppliers, our employees, yes, our customers. So we are communicating this requirement to our interested parties also, and they are also in turn trying to help to achieve this objective or implementation of this EMS. So what are the benefits? Yeah, what are the benefits when we implement ISO 14001 requirement? So first of all, it reduces the company's environmental impact and controls the environmental risk. It provides a systematic approach to addressing the environmental concerns. So in a systematic way, you are addressing all the issues and you are implementing the control measures. Yeah, it may reduce the inspections from government agencies such as EPA. Yeah, so once you are implementing, so the agencies are aware that you have this particular standard. That means you are aware of the requirement and you are complying to those requirements. Yes, it proves your commitment to the environmental improvements. So you, for implementation of this 14,001, you set some stand objectives, you have some goals. So that means you are, it proves that you are committed for improvement of the environmental performance, or you are complying to the environmental requirements. Then drives complying with the country's environmental regulation. That means you are complying to the environmental regulations which are specific for that particular country. Then waste, recycling and consumption. So you are trying to eliminate the waste, you are trying to recycle your waste which is generated. Yes. Then cost saving. It may lead, in turn, it will lead to the saving of the cost of the organization. Yeah. See, all the ISO standards are basically based upon the plan, do, check, and act cycle that is called as a PDCA cycle. Yeah. So first, if you start any of the process or if you want to implement any of the thing in your organization, you have to plan. Yes. So clause number, when it comes to ISO clauses, so clause number 4, clause number 6 are related to the planning. Yes. Then support and operation. Then you have to evaluate your performance. Yeah, so whatever you have defined in the planning stage, according to that you are doing the activities. Yes, so when you are doing the activities, you are recording, you are reporting your results, you are reporting some data related to your process. Yes, then comes a check phase. Plan, do, check. So whatever data you have generated during the planning or doing the stage, that you need to verify. Yes, so you have to evaluate the performance of your system. Yes, so maybe how can you evaluate the performance of your system? Yeah, by conducting the internal audit management review meeting, reviewing the feedback from the customer, reviewing the compliance verification. So all these things can be done in the checking phase of the PDCA cycle. And then lastly, the improvement. Yes, so improvements. So based upon the analysis you have performed, analysis of your processes, analysis of your product, based upon that you define the plan for continual improvement, you define the corrective actions. Yes, so this is a basic about all the ISO standards, that is PDCA cycle. Coming to the clauses of the ISO 14000. So there are 10 clauses. So clause number 1 is scope. Clause number 2 is normative references. Clause number 3 is terms and definitions. Clause number 4 is context of organization. Clause number 5 is leadership. Clause number 6 is planning. Yes, clause number 7 is support. Clause number 8 is operation. Clause number 9 is performance evaluation. And clause number 10 is the improvement. So as per the clause requirement, we'll run through the presentation, and then we will try to understand what is the requirement related to each of the clause. Then first of all, just try to understand what are the steps for implementation of EMS. Yes, first and most important is obtain management supports. So for conducting all these processes, yeah, so implementation of any requirement, you need to have a management support. Yeah, so management support is critical. So without this support, you cannot implement any of the system, whether it is ISO or any kind of system, you will not able to implement. And if management is not supporting, then it will not be effectively implemented within your organization. Then you have to identify legal requirement. Yes, so legal requirement are nothing but the regulatory statutory requirements which are applicable for your kind of the industry or your kind of the processes which you are implementing, or processes which you are conducting within your organization. So making sure that you have identified legal and other requirements for your EMS is another crucial step to make sure your implementation succeeds. Yeah. Then define the EMS scope. So what is the scope? So scope is nothing but the boundaries or the processes which you are conducting within your organization. So why this is important? To ensure you know the limits of what needs to be done. You need to define the scope for your EMS. So you need to define scope for your activities. Yes, do not state specific environmental performance criteria, but here you need to define your processes. Yes, so manufacture, design, manufacture, and supply of XYZ product. Yeah, so this could be your scope statement, and then based on that, you need to define your processes. Yes. Then define the EMS procedures and processes. So these will include the processes and procedure you will identify as necessary to ensure consistent and adequate results when preventive any negative environmental impacts and to respond the emergency situations. So as per the standard requirement and as per your organization, then you need to define the procedure. So what are your control measures? So how, sorry, how you will be identifying the emergencies? What could be your plan for dealing in case of the emergencies? So you need to define the procedures. Sorry. So you need to define the procedures and processes which are related, sorry, which are related to your organization and which are specific as per the requirement of the EMS standard. Then what is the next step? Then implementation of the EMS procedures and processes. So first you have to define, you have to plan which are the procedures which are applicable to you. And then as per the defined procedures, you need to implement those procedures. Yeah. So EMS processes to be linked to the processes that are already in place at your organization, such as tracking of the waste from your facility. So this process, the EMS procedures are to be linked with your actual processes which are in the practice. Suppose take the example of the production processes where you are generating one type of the waste, maybe a plastic waste. It is a waste from your process. So here you have to, from EMS point of view, you need to define that plastic waste is to be segregated. Yeah, you need not club with the other kind of waste which is generated from your process, but then as per the requirement, you need to have a segregation of the waste which is generated from your processes. Maybe it is a e-waste, it is a plastic waste, hazardous waste, or any kind of waste. So this requirement is to be defined in your procedure. Yes. Then perform training and awareness. So when you are implementing any new system or when you want to implement EMS processes within your organization, then you need to train your people. Yeah. So employees should have training on what ISO 14001 is and why you are doing this. So what is the importance of implementation of this standard? Yeah. So how you directly dispose the waste in the water body, like the plastic waste or any hazardous waste. If you dispose in the on the soil or you dump it, so what are the consequences? Just train them for these aspects so they will give you a effective performance when they are operating or performing the processes in the organization. Yeah. Then choose the certification body. So once you are sure that now we have implemented the procedures, we have first defined the procedures, we have implemented the procedures, yeah, we have given adequate training to the employees. Yes, then you can choose the certification body. So certification body will ultimately come to your facility and they will audit your EMS procedures for compliance with ISO 14001 requirement. Yes, then that is you have to do it simultaneously when you are implementing these processes. So once you are sure that yeah, we have now system in place, then you can approach the certification body and then operate the EMS, measure and keep the record. So this is when you will maintain the record. See, once you are implementing the system, it should be effectively implemented. Yeah. So it is not only for the audit point of view or for the audit purpose you need to maintain the system, but this is for improvement of your system, improve your performance. Yes, for this you need to implement these processes in a consistent way. Like you have to keep on monitoring these processes, whether these processes are being adequately implemented within your organization. So this is when you will maintain the record, monitor, measure the environmental performance as a evidence of implementation of EMS system. So you will verify, you will check your performance, like whether the legal compliances are done timely, whether your environmental objectives are defined or you are monitoring those objectives. Yes, so this is what once you set a system, you implement the system, then you need to measure or you need to verify the performance of the implementation. Yes, the one way of measuring the performance or monitoring the performance of your system is doing the internal audits and conducting management review meetings. So this will give you a chance to make sure that the processes which you are doing or what you have planned are as per the requirement. And if not, you will have to fix up, like if there are any non-conformities, then you need to take appropriate actions for the closure of the non-conformity and improve the performance of your implementation. Yeah. Then implement corrective actions. So in order to close the non-conformities and improve the system, you need to define the corrective actions. You need to find out root cause by taking appropriate tools, by using appropriate tools like 5i, brainstorm technique, fishbone diagram. So find out the root cause of the non-conformities and take actions to eliminate the root cause. Yeah. So once you are you have completed your internal audit or the non-conformities are closed, yes, then you can go for the certification audit. So when you are going for the certification audit, initially when it is a first time, there will be a stage 1 audit just to verify the document review and to verify the scope of your organization, and it is basically readiness of the facility for stage 2 audit. Yeah. Then stage 2 is conducted after successful closure of the findings of stage 1. So verification of the processes and implementation of the EMS by the auditors of the certification body. So during this, once you are completed or once you close all the non-conformities, then you will get the certification from the certification body. So these are the basic steps when it comes to the implementation of the EMS in your organization. Yeah, so let us understand what are the different terminologies which are associated with this standard. So what is an environmental aspect? So it is an element of an organization's activities, products or services that interacts or can interact with the environment. That is nothing but the activity. So which are the activities of the organization which can interact with the environment? Yes. Then what is the environmental impact? So change to the environment, so either adverse or beneficial, wholly or partially, resulting from organization's aspects. So it is a potential change or harm. So because of the organization's activity, what is a environmental impact? So what is a change in the environment or what is a potential harm to the environment because of the activities? Yes, then environmental performance is related to the management of environmental aspects. Then what are compliance obligations? It is nothing but a legal requirement that the organization has to comply with and other requirement that the organization has to or chooses to comply with. Yeah. So compliance obligations are nothing but the legal requirement, the statutory or regulatory requirements or the other requirements. Like suppose you have some mediclaim facility or any such kind of the internal things or which are associated with your processes which may be related to the compliance obligations. Then risk and opportunity. So what is risk and opportunity? It is a potential adverse effect, that is a threat, and potential if beneficial effects are nothing but the opportunity. Yes, risk is nothing but the threat or the harm, and the opportunities are the beneficial effects. So what is the life cycle perspective? Yeah, so life cycle is basically a consecutive and interlinked stages of the product or a service system from the raw material acquisition or the generation from the natural resources to the final disposal. So life cycle perspective is nothing but the interlinkages of these stages during the product manufacture or during the delivery of the service. Yeah, so right from your raw material procurement to the disposal of your end product. So what are the issues or what are the environmental impacts associated during the life cycle of the product or maybe a service? So clause number clause number 4 is nothing but the context of organization. Yeah, so there are multiple sub clauses like 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 and 4.4. So let us understand what is the requirement. Yeah. So in clause number 4 is context of organization. So here you need to define what are the internal and external issues which are relevant to the EMS, and which issues, like whether it is an internal issue or external issue, which can affect the environmental conditions. So determine the interested parties relevant to the EMS. Interested parties may be internal interested parties or external interested parties. So in external interested parties may be customer, yeah, customer, your neighbors, yes, neighboring industries, yes, your suppliers, yes, regulatory authorities, yes, these are the external interested parties, and determine their requirements. So you need to define, yeah, this is clause number 4 is under the planning stage. So determine their requirement. Here you need to identify what are the requirements related to the interested parties, either it is internal interested parties or external interested parties. Then determine the issues which are internal issues and external issues which can affect the environment. What are the legal requirements which are applicable for your industry or your processes that you need to identify? Then define the scope by determining the boundaries and applicability of the EMS, and it should be documented and available to the interested parties. The scope of your organization should be documented. Yeah, so consider external, internal issues, compliance obligations, functions, physical boundaries, activities, products and services, and how you can control these things. So that you need to define. Yes. Then clause number 5 is leadership. So leadership is nothing but the commitment. Yeah, commitment of the top management. So here the top management should be committed first, and then they should define the environmental policy. Yes, that is 5.2 is environmental policy. 5.3 is organizational roles and responsibilities and authorities. So here the top management should take accountability of EMS effectiveness. Yeah, ensure you have the environmental policy, environmental objectives are established. Yes, you need to define the policy for your organization. Yeah, so how you are going to take care, or what is the policy when it comes to implementation of the EMS. Yeah, you define the environmental objectives. So define your objectives for the company, or you can define the objective for each of the processes. You can have a separate objective for your production process, quality process, yes, maybe maintenance. Yeah, similarly, you can define your objectives, maybe a departmental objectives related to the EMS process. Yeah, ensure EMS is integrated to the business processes. Yeah, so when you are dealing with the client, you need to tell them that this is our EMS policy, or we are so we are implementing these procedures. Yes, when it comes to your vendors, so just try whatever services they are providing to you. Yes, you need to mention that you uh, whenever you are conducting the procedures at your end, you need to take care of the environment, and accordingly you will have to define the process. Yeah, so if they are giving you a, a product delivery, so maybe you can ask them to pack the material which is recyclable or which is degradable. So then this linkage this should be integrated with your business processes. Ensure that you have the adequate resources available. So when you are implementing this system, you need to have adequate resources, and resources in terms of the infrastructure, resources in terms of the competent people. Yes, communicate the importance of effective EMS and its conformance. Yes, you train your employees that what is the importance of implementation of implementing the EMS. Yeah, and why we want to implement this particular system. Yes, and what is why it is important. Yeah, you have to communicate these things to within your organization. Then define the roles, responsibilities, authorities. For all your employees, first you have the organization structure. Based on that, you define role, responsibility, and authority for each of the designation within your organization. So then define the responsibility specifically related to the EMS. Yes, what how means specific to their job also, and what is their additional responsibility when it comes to implementation of the EMS. Then commitment to fulfill the compliance obligations. Yeah, as a top management, they have to fulfill the compliance obligation. They need to timely comply with this requirement, and then they have to promote for continual improvement. So this clause number 5 is basically leadership. Leadership for implementation, we need to have these documents. Then clause number 6 is planning. So clause number 6 is 6.1 is actions to address risk and opportunity. So environmental objectives, planning to achieve them. Yeah, so 6.1 talks about the risk and opportunity. So whatever we have identified in clause number 4, 4.1, interested parties, external issue. So what are the risks associated with that we need to identify, and then what control measures you will be taking. So you need to have risk and opportunity evaluation register. Yeah. Then environmental aspect. So identify environmental aspect. Aspect is nothing but the activities which may have impact on the environment. So here you need to define, or you need to identify which are the activities which may lead, which are affecting the environment. So right from your procurement till the end of the product, that is a product release or product dispatch, and then going to the customer. Yeah. Then a compliance obligation, and then planning the action. So when planning must consider the external internal issues and interested parties and scope of the EMS. So when you are planning these activities, you need to consider, yes, when you are defining your risk, or when you are identifying the aspects, you need to consider what are the internal issues, what are the external issues, what are the interested parties, then what is the scope of your EMS process. Yes, determine the risk related to the environment aspects, compliance obligations, and other issues. Assurance that EMS can work, prevent undesirable effects, and achieve the continual improvement. Must document risk and processes, consider the importance. Yeah. So requires criteria for significant environmental aspects to be established. Then environmental aspect must be communicated within the organization. Yes, environmental aspects and associated environmental impact must be documented. So when it comes to the aspect and impact, so here there is a requirement that first you need to identify the environmental aspect, and then what are the environmental impacts, what is the rating for that particular identified impact. Yes, so here there is a requirement that you should have a aspect and impact register. Yeah. First, here you need to identify for each of your processes. So aspect is nothing but the activity. So list down the activities. Yeah. First, you can list down the major activities, then maybe a sub activities. Okay. Suppose take the example of the production activity or the processing. There must be n number of activities. Like production is the main activity, and sub activities may be the charging of the materials. Yes, the cleaning activities. Then transfer activity, product transfer activity. So these are the sub activities. Then for each of the activity, you need to identify the impact. Yes. Yeah, basically the process. So when it comes to the unit operation, there is a raw material, then you use water or any such kind of sources for conducting the process. You use catalyst, you require energy. Yeah. So then the input is converted to your product. Yes. So during that, during the process, there could be some emission of the gases. Yeah. So during the process, there will be a generation of the solid waste. There could be a generation of liquid waste. Yeah. So then for each of the activity, you need to identify what could be the impact. Yeah. Suppose if your processes are generating during your process, there is an emission of the gases. So it may impact the air quality. So what is your aspect is your process which you need to define, and what is the impact is because of the emission of the gases there is a air pollution. So impact is air pollution. So this is how you have to identify for each of your processes what are the aspects, what are the impacts. Then compliance obligation, that is a legal and the other requirement. You need to identify first what are the legal and other requirements which are related to your processes, which are related to the type of the product you are manufacturing. Yeah, and you need to document this compliance obligation. You should have a procedure how you will be dealing with the compliance obligation, then evaluation of the performance of the compliance process. Yeah, so you can have a legal register maybe which can comply with this requirement. So organization must plan to take actions to address the significant environmental aspect, compliance obligations and risk and opportunities. Must also plan to implement actions into EMS and evaluate effectiveness of the actions. Yeah, so these are some examples of the aspects and what are the impact associated. So maybe a air emission which can affect the air quality. So if you are consuming lot of water in your processes, yeah, so maybe what could be the impact? So depletion of the water resources. Yes, so here you need to take the control measure where you can conserve the water, or you can eliminate or you can minimize the consumption of the water in your processes. So noise generation, so it will cause air nuisance. Yeah, so you need to define, first you need to identify the aspect, you define the impact, and then you have to evaluate the impact, that is in terms of the risk. You rate the risk level, and then based on that you need to uh, define the control measures. Yes, so emergencies may be fire. It may lead to affecting the air quality. Fuel release, that is an accident. Yeah, so this is an emergency, basically accidental spill. So it may contaminate your water body, or it may contaminate the soil. So electricity or paper consumption. Yeah, because of your activity, for your activity, you require electricity. Yes, you require paper. So, but then it will lead to the depletion of natural resources. So you need to take actions. How can you minimize the usage of this electricity or paper consumption? So wastewater disposal is one of the aspects. So where you can contaminate the water body. So here you need to have control measures, or you need to have some guideline laid down by the pollution control authority. So then that is a control measure for you. Yes, so this is regarding the aspect and impact. So this is very important when it comes to implementation of the EMS standard. And clause number 6 is planning. So environmental objectives and planning to achieve them. So here you need to define the environmental objectives and then planning actions to achieve the environmental objectives. Yeah. So it requires objective for significant environmental aspect and associated compliance obligations. Environmental objective must be updated. So you need to update, you need to review these objectives. So they must be documented. So requires planning. So when it comes to implementation, or when it comes to review, requires planning to determine how, when, who, when, how the objectives will be monitored and how the results will be evaluated. So first you need to define the objective. So maybe you can take the objective related to conservation of the water, yeah, or reduction in the usage of the water. Yeah, so maybe a plantation of the trees, or maybe related to the energy conservation. So basically you need to identify what kind of objectives you can take And then you need to determine. So if you are setting an objective maybe for a year, just don't target for that particular year and monitor at the end of the year, but you need to define time period when you will be reviewing, maybe every quarterly or every um, year monthly. Then how you will be achieving those targets? Yes, what is your action plan? Yes, that you need to define. Who will be responsible? Yes, who will be responsible for achieving this target? Yes, maybe a process owner or maybe the top management. So you need to define the objective monitoring. First, you define the objective, you define the targets, and then how you will be achieving this, who will be responsible, what is the time frame, yes, what resources you require for implementation, so that you need to document. Yeah, must consider how the environmental objectives can be integrated into the organization processes. So link this objective related to your processes. Yes. Then comes the support, that is clause number 7. So clause number 7 includes 7.1, that is a resource, 7.2 is the competence, 7.3 is the awareness, 7.4 is the communication. So communication includes the internal and external communication. Then 7.5 is documented information. Then 7.5.1 is the general. Then 7.5.2 is creating and updating the documents. Then 7.5.3 is control of documented information. So let us see what is the requirement related to clause number 7. Yeah, so evaluate the effectiveness of the actions taken for the competence. Documented information must be retained for the competence. Yeah, determine what will be communicated internally and externally, when, to whom, and how. Yeah, must comply legally. Yeah, first of all, evaluate the uh, actions to actions taken to address the competence. So here you need to identify the people. Yeah, so you have to have a competency matrix. Yeah, so for that you need to have a record which will indicate that people who are involved in the processes are competent. So you first define the requirement, that is a competency requirement for your employees, and based on that you just verify whether the people are competent as per the defined competency requirement. So here you need to keep a document, that is a competency mapping or maybe a competency matrix, you can say. Then the second requirement is communication. Yeah, there are certain informations like some changes in the legal requirement, some regulatory requirement, so that you need to communicate within your organization, or that needs to be communicated to the concerned person in the organization. Or external communication involves the communication with the regulatory authorities. Yes, then communication with your customers. So for this you need to have a communication matrix. So what information is to be communicated? Yeah, what is to be communicated? Suppose it is a EMS policy, then how you will internally communicate and how you will externally communicate. So maybe internally you can communicate. To whom you have to communicate? You have to communicate internally to your employees. How you will communicate? You will communicate by giving the training, or you can communicate by displaying the policy in your organization. And externally, how you can communicate? So maybe you can inform, or you can send your policy through mail to your external interested parties. Yes, or you can upload your policy on your website. Yes, so this is how you can communicate. So this is one of the example I have given. Similarly, the other information can be communicated by following the same methodology. Yes, you must comply legally. So legal communication, legal requirement should be complied. Then this communication must be documented. Yeah, so EMS needs documented information required by the standard and as determined the organization. Yeah, so you need to have the documented information. So documented information is nothing but the documents or records. Yes, you need to define the procedures. You need to define some work instruction. You need to define the formats for the implementation. So as per the standard requirement and as required by the organization, you need to have the documented information. Yeah, so documented information requires the identification and description. So you need, when you're preparing any document or record, you need to have some identification, some ID number, revision number, then the date of issue. So all these things should be described in your document, and then accordingly you prepare the document. Yeah, you can prepare the formats in the similar way. And when you're preparing documents, it should be reviewed, it should be signed. Yes, it should be reviewed and approved. So all these things you have to consider when it comes to the documented information. Then clause number 8 is operation. So operation is the doing stage. Yeah, it in PDCA cycle, it is a do stage. So operational planning and control, emergency preparedness and response. Also addresses outsourcing processes are controlled. Yeah, so when you are performing any activity, if you require any outsource processes, like maybe a painting or any testing services, so how you are controlling those processes that you need to address. Yeah, introduces life cycle perspective to ensure organizations control environmental requirements for life cycle of the product and services. So here, first of all, you need to identify what are the stages, like maybe if you are designing the product. So right from the design stage of the product, then there are various stages like design and development, procurement of the material, then process, yes, process, filling, packing, manufacturing process is there. Then it comes, then the dispatch of the product. And then from this, after dispatch, it is a use by the end user. Your product will be used by the end user. And then how you will dispose the product. So end life of the product. So that all those things you have to consider in life cycle perspective. Yeah, so must communicate these requirements. So consider transport, delivery, use, and final disposal. So here you need to prepare a summary kind of things where you can consider stages of the life cycle of maybe your process or maybe your services. Then just list down the issues. Yeah, what are the environmental issues related to that and what impact it can have. Yes, and then what is the control measure. Suppose means here you need to consider like design development stage, processing stage, yeah, then um, delivery of the product, then final disposal. Okay, maybe you are manufacturing one chemical. Yeah, you are a chemical manufacturer. So here, when it comes to final disposal, what is your control? How the customer will come to know how the product is to be disposed of. So your control measure will be to provide the MSDS, that is Material Safety Data Sheet. Here you need to define how the product is to be disposed. Yeah, so based upon that, the customer will dispose of the product. Yeah, suppose it is you are a fabricator, maybe you are manufacturing vessels, yeah, SS vessel. So here there is no such formal disposal where you need to define the MSDS, but maybe you have to scrap the your vessel and maybe the scrap can be reused. So this is how you have to define for your requirement, yeah, for your product or for the services you are providing. Yeah, so documented information is to be maintained as considered necessary by the organization. So here you need to define a document where all these things are addressed, that is a life cycle perspective of the product or services. Here you need to address all the processes, identify the environmental issues, identify the impact of that issue on the environment, yeah, and what control measures you will be taking for the minimizing the risk. Then establish control as appropriate in the design and development phase, considering the each life cycle stage. Determine its environmental requirement during the procurement of the product or services. Communicate its environmental requirement to external providers, including your contractors. Consider need to provide information about the potential significant impact associated with the transportation or delivery and final disposal of the product and services. Okay, for transportation, like suppose if you are transporting any hazardous chemical, so what considerations are to be required? So any legal requirement is there. So here you need to identify based upon your product or based upon your services. So documented information is to be maintained as considered necessary by the organization. So here you need to have a documented information. Here you need to have a document which states how you will be addressing this life cycle perspective for complying the requirement of EMS. Yeah, then comes the performance evaluation, that is in the check part of the PDCA cycle. So 9.1 is monitoring, measurement, analysis and evaluation. So 9.1.1 is the general requirement, and then 9.1.2 is the evaluation of compliance. So here need to determine what, how, when environmental performances are to be measured against what criteria and how the results are analyzed and evaluated. Environmental performance and effectiveness of the EMS is to be evaluated. Then environmental performance is to be communicated internally and externally. Then evidence of monitoring and evaluation is to be documented. Okay. Suppose here whatever you are doing, you are doing in the clause number 8 or doing stage of the PDCA cycle. Here you need to determine how you will verify, how you will measure the performance. Like if you have set any objectives, how you will be measuring what is the output of that particular evaluation. Yes, if you have some feedback, yes, how you will verify, how you will evaluate based upon the uh, data you have collected. Okay, or suppose you have set some environmental objective related to the reduction of electricity or consumption of the electricity. So how you will be performing based upon your trend, based upon your past data, you will be verifying the based on that you will verify the data, and then based on that you will take the further actions. Or maybe if you have uh, various legal requirement, like you have the requirement related to the pollution control board, then they have the specific requirement for some compliances, yeah, or you have some certifications or some license renewal and all. So here you need to monitor these activities in the legal requirement. So when the last uh, this when up to what period the license is applicable. Okay, when the monitoring of the environmental activity, like you have the air quality monitoring, so when it was done, yeah, so when all these you have to mention in your legal register, and then based on that you verify whether that has been done as per the requirement, and then you verify whether the compliance is being taken as defined as per the defined frequency. So here you need to define like every 3 months or monthly I will evaluate the compliance, whether all the things are complying as per the legal requirement, so that you need to verify in the evaluation of compliances. So other way of verifying the performance of your system is conducting the internal audits. Yes, you can have an internal audit procedure. Define the criteria for conducting the internal audit. Then based on the checklist, you can perform the internal audit of your organization. Then conduct the management review. So consider all the input points which are defined in clause number 9.3 of the standard, and based on that you discuss the points and prepare minutes of the meeting for the management review and take the follow-up of the pending actions of the management review meeting. So first of all, both internal audit and management review should be done at the planned interval. So maybe 6 monthly or yearly you can plan, but that needs to be defined. The frequency needs to be defined in your manual or in your procedure. Yeah, so evidence of internal audits and results must be documented. So you should document the findings, or you should document what you will be verifying in the internal audit. Yeah, and what are the observations, what are the non-conformities associated with the internal audit. First prepare the internal audit calendar. You prepare the internal audit plan. Based upon the internal audit plan, you conduct the internal audits. So internal audit should be conducted for the cross function. So you should not audit your own department, but it should be a cross functional team auditing the processes. Yeah, so this should be done based on the checklist or any such kind of forms you have. So you have to define the checklist for conducting the internal audit verification of all the processes. So you don't miss, when you have a checklist, you don't miss out any of the things. Yeah, and whatever are your evidences that should be recorded in that particular checklist. Yeah, for management review meeting, you should have a clear agenda points. You define the agenda for management review meeting, communicate or circulate that agenda within the organization to the concerned people at least a week before the conduct of the internal audit. Then evidences of the management review results must be documented. So as per the agenda, as per the requirement, whether you have conducted the management review, that should be documented in management review meeting, minutes of the management review meeting. Yeah, so that should include what was the agenda point which was discussed, what is the outcome of the discussion. Yeah, so if there are any actions which are to be taken, so what is the target date and who are responsible for the taking the appropriate action. So that should be defined in the minutes of the management review meeting. Yeah. Then clause number 10 is the improvement. So improvement is whatever data we have analyzed in during the monitoring and measurement of the results. Yeah, so clause number 9. Here we need to, based on that report, based upon that analysis, based upon that trend, we need to take the actions for improvement of the performance of our system. Yeah, so clause number 10.1 is the general requirement. Yes, then 10.2 is non-conformity and corrective actions, and 10.3 is continual improvement. So opportunities as an organization, you need to define or you need to determine what are the opportunities for improvement. Yeah. So how can I improve my system? So actions must be taken to achieve the intended outcome of the EMS. So whatever data we have analyzed, we need to take actions based upon those data, and then we can improve the performance of your system. So non-conformities must be reacted to, applicable actions taken, and deal with uh, any mitigation. So if you come across any non-conformities, so maybe non-conformities identified during your audits, internal or maybe external, or during your processing, yes, that, or maybe because of your complaint. Yeah, so wherever you have raised the non-conformity, you need to take the appropriate actions. Yeah, so that you eliminate the non-conformity and your performance or the system is improved. Yeah, so root cause analysis must be considered based upon its significance. Yeah, so based upon the non-conformity, see, first you need to have a correction. So correction is basically a immediate action to deal with the non-conformity. Then you investigate. Yeah, you identify the root cause. You can use various techniques which is applicable or which is as per the process. You can take any of the tool for investigation of the root cause. Yeah, then based upon the root cause, you need to take the actions. Yeah, you need to define the corrective action. So the cause of the root cause is eliminated. So you eliminate the cause of the non-conformity, and then you have to verify the effectiveness also. See, once you have implemented the corrective actions, so your responsibility does not end there itself, but then over a period of time you need to verify whether my corrective action is still effective. Yeah, whether the corrective action is effectively implemented in my organization. Yeah, so if there are any changes required, so if you find that there are some issues, I'm not able to effectively implement this action in my organization over a period of time, then maybe you can change, or then you need to document that. Yeah? So all these, the evidence of the actions taken from the non-conformities must be documented. The evidence of the results of the non-corrective actions must be documented, and the organization must continually improve the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the EMS to enhance the environmental performance. Yeah. So when you are taking any actions, when you are taking the corrective actions for the elimination of the cause, yeah. So here the organization is continually improving the suitability, yeah, suitability of these processes, adequacy and effectiveness of the EMS to enhance the environmental performance. So by achieving your targets, yes, by achieving your objectives, by reviewing your data, reviewing your trends, when you are taking some actions, yes, you are definitely reviewing the performance of your system. Yes, when you are taking appropriate, defining any appropriate corrective actions, and you are implementing that actions in your organization, definitely you are improving the performance of your system. So this is what is about clause number 10. So clause number 10 is talking about the improvement. So based upon all these plan, do, check, and now this is the act stage. Yes, where you are actually acting for improvement of your system. Yeah, so maybe if you have any queries regarding this presentation, you can just ask me. Yeah. And thank you all of you. Yes. Yeah. So please ask if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining this topic in a very simplifying way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I request all the delegates to ask any question if they have, or they can unmute themselves and ask the question, or they can put their question in the chat box.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Yeah, any
Any question? Yeah, if any delegates have any questions, anything. Okay, I guess we have one question. So there is a question from Sudhir Jain. He's asking if you can share samples of AQM and other documents to understand the topic better.
yeah, can you share samples of the documents? Maybe you can just here right now we don't have the sample documents. Maybe we can share you later the exact document what you require, because there are number of documents associated with this, and then maybe yes, we can share you later on.
Any other questions? Any doubts regarding the session, you can ask.
Yeah, can I have a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very good afternoon, Mithila Moreji. That was very nicely you presented
Yeah,
the
thank you, sir.
entire government of this ISO 14001 environment management system. Um, First thing, I have few questions. There is a lot of confusion occurs when the audit is being done.
Yeah,
There is a Factory Act is there,
yeah,
and then there are Central Pollution Control Board as well as state control boards.
yes.
Now, what to follow? Oh, this always a
Yeah. Sir, as a requirement, we have to comply. If we are we have a factory, we need to comply because there are different bodies which are verifying these. Yeah. So when it comes to the uh, factory auditor, like he will verify as per the Factory Act requirement. Yeah. And when it comes to the pollution control board, they have their own requirement. But then right now, somehow these things are linked and they are trying to streamline the process. Yeah. So most of the processes when it comes to the Factory Act or CPCB or the state pollution control authorities, so the requirements are maybe similar. But when it comes to implementation or fulfillment of the requirement, we need to comply all the requirements.
yeah. Continue with this regulatory and legal requirement. I
Yeah.
have also question which is cropping up in my mind.
Yeah.
That, there is a product certification which is a mandatory by BIS as
Yes.
per the legal requirement.
Yeah.
So I talk about, say, for example, electrical items or electrical equipment.
Yeah.
So that, but then we find the company, when you ask them, they say, no, it is not applicable to us.
Yeah.
But can you put light on this one? That how it is related to environment?
Yeah.
Because again, electrical safety is important as related to environment.
Yeah, so when it comes to the electrical safety, so where we are using any electrical gadgets, yeah, so those e-waste is to be as per the requirement of e-waste management. So e-waste is to be disposed of separately. Yeah, we need to identify that waste separately and then dispose through some notified the agencies who is approved for disposal of the e-waste so that you don't harm the environment. Yeah. So you don't directly dispose of all your electrical items. So you segregate that and then give it for the disposal to e-waste authority.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If anyone have any questions after that, you can ask.
Ma'am, my name is Sumit. Hi.
Hello,
Amazing
sir.
presentation, ma'am. Very detailed insight. Ma'am, I want to understand whether, from implementation perspective, how
Yeah.
is there industrial clarity that, when you implement environment, it is not like quality. There will be some infrastructure changes, some investment will need to be made in putting up, ETPs, STPs, or at
Yes.
least some basic treatment in place.
Yeah.
But is the industry by and large accepting this? Because there is a huge variation when you talk about the number of QMS certified vis-a-vis the number of other standards.
Yes.
So
Yes.
is it because industries want a certificate but do not want to spend the money, or is it because there is no general awareness or understanding? What is the core issue, ma'am? Because we've always tried to understand that there is a huge gap between the
Yes.
number of QMS that we do and the number of EMS we do.
Yes. Yes.
And these industries are big. For them, a small ETP or a STP could be, it would be hardly expensive in terms of this. But
Yeah.
are they insensitive, or is it a knowledge issue, or is it
Yeah.
that they don't want to spend the money, or is it purely, I don't understand, ma'am. If you, because
Yeah.
you're on the field, you would know better.
Yeah, yeah. Sir, what happens? Yeah, certainly the EMS certifications, QMS certifications are more when it comes to the other standard requirement. But then it happens like sometimes there is a customer requirement. If there is a mandatory, like now 13485 is a mandatory thing. So people are going for that.
Correct.
Yeah, if there is a requirement from their customers for implementation of EMS, then they go for the implementation. Or there are nowadays the awareness is improving. Like many of the companies, they are going for this certification, maybe 14,000 or 45,000 for their own improvement. Yeah, not because it is a customer requirement or it is a requirement for one of the tenders. Yeah, because they want to improve their system, because they want to improve their performances, or because they want to be as a good company in the competition. So they are going for this implementation. Yeah. So nowadays, sir, many of the companies maybe as compared to past few years now, the certifications must have the number may have improved.
Yeah, ma'am. Definitely the numbers are coming up, but
Yeah.
to that, it's not to that pace that, the acceptance is purely because of maybe infrastructure investment, because
Yes.
other than the infrastructure investment, there is no difference between a quality or an environment. But
Yes.
then
Yes.
the difference is that you'll need to revamp your internals, you'll have to put in checks and balances in place, you'll have to have
Yes.
counter effects, you'll
Yes.
need to put
Some
scrubbers.
legally also we should be able to comply.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Because today risk assessments have become playing a major role in understanding the future course of any business. So
Yeah.
if you're not taking care of your risks today, whether it be from a public per se perspective or a regulatory perspective, tomorrow is going to be difficult for any industry.
Yes, yes. So
Fair
to
enough.
be in the market, to be in the competition, people are going
I
for
know.
this certification. Yeah. Okay, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
That's all from
Yeah.
me.
Continue this question. I would like to say it is the responsibility of the corporate social responsibility of the organization,
Yes.
small, big, or anything. One is the occupational health and safety and the environment. The environment issues are big burning issues worldwide. Why companies are shy to come forward
Yeah.
and take this advantage of these standards which are available and implement their social responsibilities? Can you put a little light on that one?
Yeah. Sir, yes, definitely it is a social responsibility of the organization. Yeah, because these standards are basically ISO maybe 45,000 and 14,000. So they are basically related to the improvement of the health and safety of the people or the environmental safety. So organizations should take a social responsibility. Yeah, that is their responsibility of the people who are working in the organization or where they are performing the activity to safeguard the environment. So, but I think nowadays this scenario is changing, sir. People are considering these two standards for implementation. So they are aware as a social responsibility of the company. So they are just trying to implement rather than just for the only getting the certificate. They are trying to implement these systems in their organization so they safeguard the environment and safeguard their employees. Most of the corporates are going for this, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hi, myself Anand Menon.
Yeah.
I'm talking I'm talking from Republic of Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
It was a nice presentation what you done this morning on the ISO 14001. Yes, I would like to add only thing that there's nowadays no greenhouse gas emissions and sustainability is playing a major role in the organizations, especially when India and other countries are signing the COP28 and COP29. The days are not too far.
Yeah.
Most of the majority of the organization will look forward to go for the ISO 14001 and ISO 45001 in the initial level itself. So, no, at the end of the tunnel, we can definitely seeing the light because of growing awareness sessions on the environmental factor.
Yes.
So, thank you once again for sharing this wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you so
Smiling.
much. Yeah, thank you so much for the great presentation and the explanation. I think we are now done with all the questions and answers. So I would like to go ahead. So our, our next Sadhguru meet is on 20th Jan. The topic for that Sadhguru meet is role of personal financial planning, which will be taken by Puneet Gakareja, founder of Gravity Investment Services. We shall be covering difference between savings and investment, overview on the various modern products, and points to be kept in the mind before buying any financial product, power of compounding, which will be followed by question and answer session. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, QMS, EMS, and OHSAS, excellent in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, and Hindi language. For regarding any of the above books, please contact the given number on the screen. You can give us your feedback by registering on www.sadgunsen.org and please go in, log in and give us your feedback. So now I would like to close our session officially. Thank you for being the part of Sadgunsen. Feel free to contact us on the given links and now I officially close the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.